I have a question for you before we get going. How many of us woke up this morning? First thing, woke up this morning and you began creating your future. George, you're the one. I think oftentimes that's a great thought, but a lot of times we wake up in the morning thinking, I need my fuel to get me going. Or we think about the list of things we've got to do, the immediacy of things. Or we might think, oh gosh, I don't know that I want to get up this morning. Yet we've been given an opportunity of life to create our future. Yet I believe sometimes we wake up even living in the remnants of what was, the past, things we'd like to redo, the stories we'd like to rewrite, the oh my goshes, I wish I could do that again. I'd like you to kind of carry that with you as we go through somewhat of a history lesson this morning about Unity's connection to the moon, Unity's connection to NASA, Unity's connection to prayer. But I want to begin with two scriptures that are powerfully important to me that I feel that connect this. One's Matthew 9:29. According to your faith, be it unto you. Be it unto you. According to our faith. And as Reverend Barbara were playing this morning, there's a faith muscle that's continuously needing to be worked, to understand what it's like to trust and to move forward, even in what we may see as the impossibility. Yet I know many of you have had experiences that you've stepped out in faith to try something and you thought, oh, maybe not, this might fail. Perhaps as musicians, as creatives, as artists, words on paper and you think, I don't know how this is going to work. And then suddenly the light's revealed and it does. We all have those experiences, even experiences that, astronauts can go to the moon. There was a time, believe it or not, where people used to look at the sky and wonder, what is that? Another scripture that's powerful is from Luke. I love this one. The kingdom of God is within you, or in some translations, among you. That presence is right here with us, that we can co-create anything we set our minds to do. And as Maya Angelou would say, and do it well, and do it good. So keep that in mind as we navigate this courageous journey this morning, not only with the prayer that went with the astronauts, but also the feat of doing so. Most recently, the astronauts of NASA's Artemis II, remember this? Very recent, everyone would know this one, returned from their journey around the moon on April 1st of 2026, and many reflected on humanity's enduring connection to the stars, exploration, spirit. The mission sent 4 astronauts on a 10-day lunar flyby, marking the first crewed journey around the moon since, who knows the number, since what year? 1972. You're thinking of 1969. But there was the second one in 1972. But before I go any further, I got to get some archives from NASA so we could take a look. If Sarah, will you take the light stand? We'll take a look at what that clip might have looked like for the people supporting it.
Okay, it's go there, Capcom on the hot fire. Okay, all flight controllers going around the horn, gonna go for undocking. Okay, retro, go. Fido, go. Guide, go. Control, go. Telcom, go. Jinsei, go. Ecom, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for undocking.
Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins arrived at the moon on Saturday, July 19th.
When we did get close and we rolled out and saw it for the first time, it was a revelation. It was gigantic. It filled our entire window.
The next day, Sunday, July 20th, was landing day.
In a lot of anticipation, we finally come to the day, the moment that this is about to commence.
Landing on the moon was absolutely the most difficult piece of any Apollo mission, okay? Think about it as a controlled fall out of lunar orbit. The problem is, in this controlled fall out of orbit, you only have enough fuel for one try.
Capcom, we're go for landing. Altitude 4,200.
Houston, you're go for landing, over.
The trajectory had been wrong. They were targeted into this inhospitable place. Then they had to fly over this area at a high forward velocity, then pitch up to slow down so that kill their forward velocity and then start down like a helicopter. So now we're critical fuel state. And that's why the 60-second call was given, and then the 30-second call.
Then I really got nervous, was calling out 25 seconds of fuel left, and then 20 seconds of fuel. Oh, jeez.
Okay, engine stop. APA at a descent. Mode control both auto, descent engine command override off. Engine arm off. 413 is in. We copy you down, Eagle. Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
The landing to me was a great celebration. The nation was almost euphoric.
Well, it proved that the United States could accomplish tremendous goals if they worked together as a team.
For some of you, it brings you back. I was thinking about this, doing a little bit of research around the prayer that we sent with the crew. And I recalled that clip, Walter Cronkite, thick black glasses, taking them off and wiping tears from his face. Does anybody, can you recall that in your mind? And I was little, but you know, those things kind of burn into our minds. It's so powerful and so important. What I especially kind of gave me pause was when he said, you only have enough fuel for one try. There's like 20 seconds. We only have this one life to set out to do something that we might have thought was impossible. The moment invites us to look back at this connection to unity, really on the global map with NASA. In 1971, astronaut James Irwin visited Unity Village, and there's a picture I was able to find here of James Irwin, Colonel James Irwin, with Unity Minister James Dillet Freeman. For those of you that don't know, he was the director of Silent Unity and wrote the prayer for protection that we close every service with. He also wrote, I Am There. Both poems, NASA and the global movement decided that these were so powerful, powerful enough that they wanted them to go with them. And what one astronaut said in an interview was that he needed it for his own comfort to travel, even though it would be left in microfilm on the moon that it exists today in that context. In 1969, you saw the video. That was the one where Buzz Aldrin carried our prayer for protection. And in 1971, this James Irwin went to Unity Village and met Unity Minister James Dillet Freeman. His poem, I Am There, I don't know that many people are familiar with the poem, I Am There. If you've read any work by James Dillet Freeman, it's a powerful poem. It's a long poem, but it's deeply meaningful. And Reverend Barbara is going to read that poem in its entirety for us this morning. And as we know, as Reverend Barbara comes forward, we know that every great achievement begins in the creative mind. Before metal and mathematics and fuel and design and drawing happens, it's in our consciousness that we are co-creating something wonderful. How are we going to use that? Would you come share this morning? I Am There by James Freeman.
This is so powerful. I hope I can get through it. Okay. Do you need me? I am there. You cannot see me, yet I am the light you see by. You cannot hear me, yet I speak through your voice. You cannot feel me, yet I am the power at work in your hands. I am at work, though you don't understand my ways. I am at work, though you do not understand my works. I am not strange visions, I am not mysteries. Only in absolute stillness beyond self can you know me as I am, and then but as a feeling and a faith. Yet here I am. I hear, yet I answer. When you need me, I am there. Even if you deny me, I am there. Even when you feel most alone, I am there. Even in your fears, I am there. Even in your pain, I am there. I am there when you pray and when you do not pray. I am in you, and you are in me. Only in your mind can you feel separate from me, for only in your mind are the mists of yours and mine. Yet only with your mind can you experience me and know me. Empty your hearts and empty your fears. When you get yourself out of the way, I am there. You can of yourself do nothing. I can do it all. Though you may not see the good, good is always there. For I am there. I am there because I have to be, because I am. Only in me does the world have meaning. Only out of me does the world take form. Only because of me does the world go forward. I am the law on which the movement of the stars and the growth of the living cells are found. I am the love that is laws fulfilling. I am assurance. I am peace. I am oneness. I am the law that you can live by. I am the love that you can cling to. I am your assurance. I am your peace. I am one with you. I am. Though you fail to find me, I do not ever fail you. Though your faith in me is unsure, my faith in you never wavers, because I know you, because I love you. Beloved, I am here.
So we're going to have a bit of a conversation now about some of the history of the prayer of James Dillet Freeman. Most of you said, when we've done this before, you said, we enjoy those conversations about what's happened in the world, what's happened in spiritual practice, what's happened in maybe scriptures. And today is going to be more about James Dillet Freeman. So some of you may have seen the book before, Angels Sing in Me. It's his entire collection of works. But most especially, this prayer, the prayer for protection. So how many of you are familiar with a prayer for protection? Would be a lot of people. A lot of times people know that prayer really well, but they don't know where it came from. They use it in all sorts of contexts. And it's actually the unity prayer that we use at the closing of most of our ministry services, written by James Dillet Freeman. But he didn't write it, is what's interesting, for the launch going to the moon in 1969. So I'll use his words here. He said, it originally emerged when I was working during World War II. During World War II, the war was raging in Europe. The letters going into silent unity, the phone calls for prayer were powerful. People were in despair. People needed prayer. People were caught in conflict and worry and fear and anxiety. And in Europe, they were calling in. The phones and the letters were, the ringing off the wall was happening. He said, and we actually didn't have a prayer that mentioned protection. So I began thinking about it and working on it. And what he wrote here was he looked back at 1940. He was working on a Christmas service. And he wrote a simple 4-line verse. And here's the way the original one went. The light of Christ directs me. The love of Christ enfolds me. The power of Christ protects me. The presence of Christ upholds me. But he was asked to expand it a bit more because they said this prayer with the Christ element is not going to necessarily be universally accepted because this is going out to the world. What could you do with that? And so James Dillet Freeman inserted, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I don't know how you feel about that, but sticking that in during a time of war may not make people feel too good. So a silent unity prayer associate, this is what's so fascinating. She was reading that manuscript and she read that line and she went over to his office and she said, Jim, if I were in England right now Bombs are going off. I'm praying with people that are calling in on the phone. Soldiers that are in fear. Someone pointing a gun at me. I wouldn't want to feel like I was walking through the valley of the shadow of death. I think you can do better than that. And he sat there and he thought, I can do better than the Psalms? And so he sat with it and he began to think about the prayer that he used, the 4-line prayer from Christmas. And he said, I didn't think I could do anything. I didn't think I could do anything with this. But it kept coming up for him again and again. You know how in our lives something keeps coming up and we're like, I've got to do something with that. It's like it's this divine intuitive knowing, this creative power within us. That's the God mind, the God power within us, however you want to frame it. And he said it kept coming up because I know in my personal life, I know fear can stop me from doing anything moving forward, any experiment, any try anything forward. Even when we first got here and we said we're going to start doing these co-talks, and we thought, how are people going to feel about that? So it's an experiment. Music is an experiment. The way we do services, the way we do things in our life are experiments. But fear can hold us back from never trying. Have you been in that space in your life to where there was something you wanted to try specifically that you could name, that you decided, no, I'm not, because
Yes.
you were stuck in fear?
Senior year of ministerial school, when we got into homiletics, which is the way to preach a sermon, I walked out of the class. I was going to quit because I thought, there's no way in the world I can do that.
Yeah.
And yet here I am.
Yeah. With a mic. I think you relate to that. I relate to that. Reverend Sandra can relate to that. Maybe in music and you can relate to that. When you knew you were on an audition, you're called to get on that mic and you're like, I don't know this really well or know myself. And we build that sacred confidence to go and step forward. I know for many of you have said, I've said, will you read the daily word? And I know some have gone, that's a lot. That's a lot to ask. I wouldn't for many years even go forward to read the daily word. And yet, like you said, look at this, right? Here I am. So James Freeman looked at that original, the light of Christ directs me, that 4-line, and he said, something there works. He said, but it's too rhymey, has too many rhymes to it. And he said, I think I need to take Christ out of it and put God in it. So the 4-line prayer became, the light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, the presence of God watches over me. And then after quite a bit of time, he said it feels unfinished. And a 5th line came to him in prayer, and it was, wherever I am, together, God is. Yes, the one that we use. Yes. The final line completed the 5-line prayer known today that we say at the end of every service. And I hope that all of our churches, and Reverend Sandra knows this too, not all of our churches use that as still as their closing prayer. And I feel it's a powerful part of our tradition. So when you think about the connection to taking that prayer, here NASA and the leaders of the time, I know President John F. Kennedy actually said during his first experience, he said, in this decade, we will send a man to the moon. And it was so.
It was so.
And you were there. You were there in front of the TV watching all that. What was your thoughts about it?
I was in the cradle. Please go ahead, Reverend Doug.
She was in the cradle. I was standing beside her, just learning to walk. What were your thoughts about that from a universal presence of seeing that we're going to do what?
I think it probably went right past me as just something someone was, even though I love President Kennedy, that was so, in this decade, we're going to do this?
Yeah.
I don't think in my own mind somehow it even equated. How could that happen?
Yeah, because from the beginning of time, we know that humankind has looked out at that dark sky and made up stories and myths and what is that? We've always had that quest to do something larger, but I believe it's more than space travel. I believe it's our expandedness of knowing there's something more always for us in unity, in the value of unity.
Yes, of course. course.
Absolutely connected to that. I think unity as an organization, sure, but unity as a value lifts humanity higher than any one person can rise alone.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the comfort in wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Even though it may seem, well, nothing's going well in the moment, but going back to wherever I am, God is, and all is well.
Yes. How many of you knew that that prayer went to the moon with the astronauts? Just a show of hands. It's brand new information for some today, right? Isn't that a powerful piece of our history that's often not talked about? And to know that it's microfilm today that's there, I guess it's some sort of a time capsule that's left on the moon, that's still there, and that it was thought enough to be about. I also know James Irwin, or Buzz Aldrin, actually took the sacrament with him also when he went there. And in some of their interviews, they were talking about how important it was during the travel with them as a team, the 4 or the 5 that went on the journey, just to have some sacredness with them, because it was a need of safety. Something bigger than me is doing all of this too. Everything needed to go just right. James Freeman, who wrote both prayers, later reflected that the prayer continued to evolve and change over time, becoming something far larger than he ever thought in the context of unity. As a director of Silent Unity from Kansas City, Missouri, he said, this became something more, because now the prayer has appeared in countless publications all across the world, translated into multiple languages. People still to this day carry it in their wallets and pockets. They never knew where it actually came from, but they have it. It means so much to so many people. Reflecting on that, towards the end of his life, he said, there was such a mystery to even the inspiration or the Silent Unity co-worker that came and said, you can do better than, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. He said, what I realize is that sometimes God is speaking to us even when we don't know it's God. He said sometimes it's in the people you meet, the connections that we make, the voices, the hugs, the songs that we hear. God is speaking. And I believe one of our next great frontiers is maybe not outer space, but to awaken even more to the truth of who we are, that we speak about every Sunday.
Yes. You know, it was interesting. A friend of mine just came back from California, and he put it on Instagram. They were driving in a driverless car. The Waymo, is that what it is?
Yeah.
So I was talking to my older son in California, and I said, Dan, I can't believe it. I said, there are actually driverless cars in California. He said, Mom, they're all over the streets. Where have you been? So, what seemed impossible to get into a car that's driverless and yet they say veers in and out of all kinds of traffic and keeps you safe. Who would have thought?
Yeah, well, because it's certainly not the Flintstones anymore. It's more the Jetsons.
That's right. And what about the flying cars?
Well, yeah, that's going from JFK, or starting to, in New York. Yeah, I mean, you can tell where I was on Saturday morning cartoons.
But when we saw that on the Jetsons, wasn't that like, oh, yeah, I mean, it was so out of the realm, at least of my consciousness, actually flying cars?
I don't know. I kind of always wanted Rosie to be nearby somewhere. Who knows who Rosie is?
I don't.
There was a little bit of love. Just kind of loved her. This connects to why unity on Greenville, unity as an organization, as a movement. We have our vision statement that we share at the end of every service. Chris will be sharing that today when we close service. A world where every being lives in awareness of their sacred oneness and divine light. That is moving beyond the possibility of seeing not the separateness, not the division, but the unity, the connection, where everyone belongs. And I think we've come a long way. If you think about the 1969 launch to Artemis II just recently, just look at the people that were on the craft. Look at the differences that's shown up. Look at the different tone of voice, the different way in which we see things. And I believe for a moment in such a divisive time, what we witnessed in that moment when they were looking from the Artemis II out at the earth, They even said they saw it in a completely different way. Did some of you see some of those clips? We've come a long way. Prayer is so important in our ministry. Affirmative prayer, knowing the truth that is already in action, is more than that prayer that was carried to the moon. All that's a nice thing to think about, but it's something that's foundationally true for us. And prayer everywhere, every time, with divine wisdom and protection that travels with us at all times. I think we've got more attention being placed on moon travel. And some of my notes here I wrote that it's a beautiful reminder that prayer is not limited by distance. It transcends space and time, circumstance, carrying intention, love, presence, farther than we can even imagine. As you said earlier, farther than we can even imagine.
You know, and the poem, I Am There, I had read that years ago and really had forgotten about it till Reverend Doug brought it back into my awareness to read. And that is much longer, obviously, that wherever I am, God is and all is well. But that came at a time when Freeman's life, it was a very tragic time. And he was losing his wife, who he dearly loved, and she had 12 months to live. And each verse of that was written per month. So that's how it evolved. Each month there was a different verse. But no matter, you know, the valley of the shadow, whatever we're going through, God is always there. I am there, no matter what. I am there. What a magnificent thing, Reverend Doug, to know that, I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No. What I was going to say is in that moment when he's doing the I am prayer, the I am there prayer, and his wife is going through such a devastating circumstance, very similar to what Charles Fillmore, co-founder, was going through with Myrtle Fillmore, but looking to something, because you can hear in his words, he is claiming and affirming the truth, even though he's shaken, worried, nervous. What else do we have, right? But to claim the truth that we know, and know that the God of our understanding is bigger than any circumstance that may come in our lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you look at the moon, I hope you look at the moon a little bit differently, knowing a little bit more about our history, and know that we are always surrounded by the divine presence of God, of light, of oneness, of truth, that people in this very community are here to support you, our chaplains, your ministers, and all that we do is here really on the value, I say that a lot, more than a name, but the value of unity, knowing that each one of us, every one of us belong, and we can truly do amazing things together. As we close, let's just take a look at Artemis 2, just as a reflection, just recently, at some of their thoughts as we close this part of our service.
Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, good luck. Godspeed, Artemis 2. Let's go.
It was an amazing ride uphill.
We have good separation, good motion.
Houston is go for TLI.
We have the start of the translunar injection burn that will send the crew around the moon, the first humans to do so in over 50 years.
You could see the entire globe from pole to pole. It was the most spectacular moment.
As of 30 seconds ago, you are now closer to the moon than you are to us on Earth. Good morning, integrity, and good morning, moon.
View of Earth in window 1.
We look like we're smiling at you.
May I close with one thing?
Wherever we are,
God is.
yes.
And we always have the choice here in Unity.
Yeah.
Do we have big problems or do we have a big God?
God, yes,
And
amen.
I think, yes, we have a big God, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.